So I returned at the end of 2018 from China. Um, I mean, it was a planned re-entry back into the UK. I mean, I talked with my company, and so everything was agreed. It was complicated slightly by the fact that in the period between agreeing to come back and actually arriving back, my company was taken over in a hostile takeover. So some of the kind of support mechanisms that I would have anticipated weren't there. So essentially, I got off the airplane into an unsupported new life, if you like, although all the financials were in place. And I guess it was quite strange. I mean, the emphasis on, for the last kind of few months in China, we've been there for nearly 6 years, was really focused on the kind of mechanics of coming back rather than what was going to happen kind of day one after we got back, So there was a lot of focus on, all the regulatory stuff to get our property out of China, organizing a container, working with the authorities on paying duty on things you bought, etc. So, I mean, there was kind of a big administrative focus on just the process of coming back rather than actually being back. So I guess when, we actually got back and we had no water in the house, so it was kind of a bit inconvenient. But when the kind of dust had settled and I surveyed the horizon, I kind of thought, well, so I'm back, I'm retired, what am I going to do now? And that was probably the first time that I felt any kind of uncertainty. I mean, the whole process of planning to retire was fine. Actually retiring itself showed that there were probably a number of unanswered questions, or even questions that I hadn't really asked myself about.
What were those questions, Andrew?
Well, you kind of assume that, you will do things, and that there will be sufficient in the day to actually sort of keep you sort of busy and energized. But I think the kind of abrupt transition from being, kind of a very busy expat leading a large organization to being, you're defined by your position. You're defined by the job you do. And when you get back, I mean, all that's gone. It's kind of it's a silly thing, like thinking, well, I don't have a business card anymore. It's kind of, who am I? So, and I probably hadn't given that enough thought.
Would I be right, Andrew, that I hear from a lot of people that they don't think about this and they sort of expect things will come to them? People will ask them to get involved or help them with things. They don't have any kind of specific thoughts of what that might be. Would it be something around that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I had kind of planned to explore the kind of non-executive director route. I had planned to do some consultancy. In fact, started doing some consultancy around China. I was working with one of the UK's best further education colleges in establishing a partnership with a Chinese college in Shenzhen. But, the kind of pandemic hit and sort of all that went out of the window. So, I mean, it wasn't as if I was coming back to a total vacuum. I had thought about things, and the kind of prospect of having some sort of free space to kind of do things that, tend to get sidelined when you're in a full-time job, especially an expat job, where really, you're kind of on duty 24 hours a day. So it wasn't as if I hadn't given it any thought. And people did start talking to me about doing things. I mean, I was approached to do what would have been actually a very big organizational transformation job. And I followed it up, went to meet the chief executive and, sort of had a long talk about it. and it was really quite an exciting job, but I was driving back and I thought to myself, what are you doing, Andrew? I mean, you just escaped this. I mean, why are you going to put yourself back into a position where you're going to be, working a minimum 10 to 15 hours a day, committing yourself to sort of 2-3 years to deliver this, when the whole purpose was to come back and not do that kind of thing. And I guess there was an epiphany in that, busy people are used to being busy, but I guess the epiphany was that being busy when you're retired is a choice, not an obligation. Being busy is a habit, and it was kind of, I could be discretionary busy now. And that was actually quite a helpful insight, which allowed me, I think, to sort of, not feel guilty about sort of, working in the garden or going for a long walk along the coast if that was what I wanted to do, but also to sort of focus time in a positive way in terms of the things that I really wanted to do, like working at the university with students and those kinds of things.
What are you doing now then? So that was sort of coming back. Where are you at now and how did you get there?
Okay, well, where I am now is I'm on the board of the business school in Bath. I've been associated with the university for many years, and I've collaborated with the dean of the business school for nearly 20 years. So, I mean, that was an easy in. I'm actually sort of teaching on a joint master's program, engineering and management. In fact, over the summer months, I'm supervising 3 practice track groups doing consultancy for big organizations as part of the kind of final. Students can either choose to do a dissertation or do a kind of practice track with an organization. And I'm supervising 3 of those over the summer. Commitment isn't huge. I mean, we're probably face to face maybe once, twice a fortnight. We can do a lot of stuff on Zoom. So there's that.
How did you get that role, Andrew?
Well, interesting, because I've been associated with the university. I was actually having dinner with the Dean of Engineering and the Dean of the Business School. And they said, well, you're a large employer, because I helped the university establish itself in China. You're a large employer. What can we do to make our students employable? I said, well, most of your engineers will never be engineers, although they'll work in an engineering company. It would be great if they had at least a rudimentary understanding of business. So the joint engineering management master's degree was founded, and I was kind of associated with it. I helped spec it, and it seemed like a natural thing to actually go on and teach on it. I mean, I occasionally lecture in operations, international HR, and as I said, I run the practice tracks for a number of groups over the summer.
What are the other things that you're doing?
Well, there's an organization called Be the Business that I've had some association with. I do kind of ad hoc consultancy. I mean, I've worked with former colleagues in doing some due diligence around some acquisitions. I have spent a lot more time with my family.
Yeah.
Which.
So looking back on this, if you were sort of to advise yourself a few years ago before coming back, what would be the key insight and advice to yourself before coming back?
Not to take the transition for granted. I mean, I think the kind of assumption was it'll be fine, it'll work out when you get back. And I think that maybe being a bit more thoughtful and planning a bit more before coming back would have been a thing to do.
So Andrew, it sounds as if your opportunities are coming from making the most of your networks. Is that right?
It's difficult in actual fact, because most of my active network is in China. I don't really have an active, current network here in the UK, because my last big experience was in China, and part of my plan coming back was to actually leverage my China network in terms of maybe doing consultancy with China. I mean, COVID has made that difficult, albeit not impossible. And I have been doing some work advising academic institutions and other kind of blue chips looking to establish in China. But in the UK, I mean, I didn't really have a network that was kind of functioning in a way that would actually get me opportunities.
Do you think you could have done more to build that up before you came back? With hindsight, that wonderful thing.
With hindsight, yes, I could. It goes back to the point about, thinking more coherently about re-entry. About the answer is certainly yes, I could. The question I would need to ask myself is, would I have wanted to? I must admit, I didn't really see myself coming back and sort of getting back into a UK-based corporate kind of lifestyle. It's interesting. I mean, when I look at colleagues that have retired, particularly senior colleagues, they seem to have transferred. Retirement actually just means changing jobs.
And what next for you, Andrew?
Who knows? I mean, I'm sure there are opportunities out there. I mean, I'm obviously staying in contact with the university. I mean, as the world reopens, we plan to go back to China. I mean, the plan is that we will spend at least a month a year in China. And I'm sure that will result in opportunities. I mean, I've been advising another blue chip in terms of them establishing their presence in China. So I don't know. I mean, I've gone from being a person who led a very structured, organized life to actually being somebody who is rather more carefree about, if it's not there, then it's not a problem. It's not as if I have to sort of, I'm fortunate that I have a pension. It sort of means I'm never going to starve. Yeah.
So actually, there's also that other thing to think about how much you want to be doing. As you're saying, you're more carefree now. And I think that's a state that you have to work through to get yourself into, and then actually to be happy and enjoy it.
I think that's right. I mean, you don't sort of go into retirement and find yourself a fully formed pensioner. I mean, there's a transition process that you have to go through.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. I know it will help many others coming back. And as you say, the thing is really to start planning ahead. That helps you to be in what you want to do.
Kind of rocket science. All organizations tell you should do it, but kind of, it gets lost doing other stuff.